Kai Dren raised an eyebrow. The true core of the palace isn't that exchange steel we've been using. It's a massive hidden energy hub. Underneath the whole structure, one connected to every ley line in the Styx C domain. And the core of the Styx we already have is the only thing that can activate it. Understanding hit him all at once. He'd wondered why that item, with its grand title of Overlord of the Styx, only offered speed and low-level intimidation. Now it was obvious. Its real purpose was the palace itself. So if I activate that hub, I control the whole divine palace. In theory, yes. Serait expression sobère. But that's also the problem. According to the inscriptions on the map, that energy hub doubles as a seal. A seal on what? On the true entrance to the Styx divine kingdom. Activating the hub is the same as breaking that seal. We might get access to the realm the legends describe, and we might also release whatever's kept inside it. Whatever's sealed inside. Kai Dren repeated slowly, a flicker of realization crossing his face. The Lord of the Styx. Exactly. Sera no-dead, Gav. He's very likely the true final boss of this sea, something close to a god. The divine palace is the cage. Every unit of merit we've ever spent here has basically been an offering to the jailer for scraps. Now we're proposing to take the key from the jailer and open the cell ourselves. She didn't need to finish the thought. This was playing with fire in the most literal sense. The mood in the cabin turned heavy fast. Sa, Hila, Loon, and the rest all showed real worry. A god-tier existence sealed away for who knew how long. Even the idea of it was unsettling. Kai Dren was the only one smiling. Interesting. He turned the map over in his hands like he was looking at a fortune, not a threat. This just keeps getting better. Sarah, is the ferry boat blueprint kept somewhere inside that kingdom too? Yes, the map marks the remaining fragments as part of the Lord's own treasury. Then there's no question. Kai Dren's decision was, Aston, we're going in. Captain, Mira Loon said, worry plain on her face, but if the Lord of the Styx. Kai Dren gestured to himself, then to Petra beside him. We've got a level 9 ship, a mythic rank crew, member, and infinite resurrection between us. He's just an old monster who's been locked up for who knows how long. How dangerous can he really be? A sly smile pulled at his mouth. Besides, who says we're going toe-to-toe with him? We're going treasure hunting, not god-slaying. Grab what we need, hit Ghost Shuttle and run. Even with a seal broken, he's not chasing us across the whole ocean. Understanding dawned on everyone's faces at once. Right, they had a skill built specifically for ignoring obstacles and immunity to attacks. Grab the loot and go, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. The worry drained out of the room fast, replaced by genuine excitement. I love this kind of plan, Zara said, cracking her knuckles. When do we go? Kira Loon added, already impatient. Now. Kai Dren stood, a sharp light in his eyes. Strike. While it's hot. Target. The Styx divine palace. This time, we're not just clearing the shelves. We're prying the front door open. Half an hour later, the level 9 Panga docked again, under the same reverent stairs. Kai Dren brought only Sarah and Petra this time, walking straight into the now empty VIP hall. The steward greeted him with his usual bowing eagerness. Honored guest, welcome again. What would you like to exchange for this time? Kai Dren ignored him and walked to the center of the hall, closing his eyes, tracing the pull coming from the core of the Styx in his pocket. It didn't take long to find what he was looking for, the location of the hidden hub buried beneath one ordinary-looking floor tile. Right here, he raised a foot to stomp it, and the steward's expression collapsed into pure panic, rushing to block him. My lord, you mustn't. This is forbidden ground. My master sleeps beneath it. No one is permitted to approach. Oh, Kai Dren looked at him, half amused. And if I insist, then you'll have made an enemy of the entire Styx. When my lord wakes, he'll grind your bones to dust." The steward's threat came out shrill with fear. Kai Dren answered by bringing his foot down anyway. The tile shattered under the impact, revealing a bottomless, black, churning opening. He looked once at the terrified steward, then pulled the core of the Styx from his coat, and without a flicker of hesitation, threw it straight into the hole. The instant the core vanished into the dark, the entire divine palace, no, the entire Styx sea domain, began to shake. The earth groaned. Ancient pillars in the hall cracked. Dust raining from the ceiling. Out at the harbor, the Black Sea surged violently, ships tossing like toys. What's happening? Is it a quake? A tsunami? No, it's coming from the palace. Terror swept the whole domain. Kai Dren stood calmly at the edge of the opening, feeling the same power that ran through the core of the Styx, rising up from beneath the earth to meet it. A pillar of black light shot skyward, enveloping him. The core and the buried hub fused together completely. An aura of absolute authority swept out from him across the entire sea in that instant. Global announcement. Player Kai Dren has successfully fused with the core hub of the Styx Divine Palace. Temporary title obtained. Acting Lord of the Styx. Title effect. Within the Styx Sea domain, you receive partial authority over the sea itself. You may temporarily command the palace's defense, teleportation, and offensive functions. Your orders carry the weight of Styx law. Note, congratulations. You are the new warden. Kai Dren felt his awareness stretch out across the entire domain. Every drop of water, every heartbeat of every creature in it, suddenly within reach. He could see the massive city-scale seal beneath the palace, and at its center, a colossal stone door bound by black chains, radiating dread. So this is authority, he murmured, clenching a fist, thrilled despite himself. Then an ancient, furious consciousness exploded into his mind like a thunderclap. Lowly mortal, who gave you the right to touch my authority? Who allowed you to wake what sleeps in the abyss? The voice felt like it came from the deepest part of hell, cold enough to freeze a soul on contact. For a moment, even Kai Dren's mind swam under it. The Lord of the Styx. Without question, the true owner of this voice was the thing sealed inside the kingdom. Kai Dren grunted and let the vitality of his overlord body erupt outward, burning the chill out of his own head, gaze sharpening instantly. Old man, stop wasting tricks on me. His mental reply was blunt. Your ear is over. I run the Styx now. Insolence. The ancient will roared with fresh fury. And who hasn't even lit his own divine flame dares. Covet a throne? I'll pull your soul out and burn it for 10,000 years. The temperature in the hall dropped to freezing. Black, mist-boiled. Up from the opening, condensing in the air into an enormous, featureless ghost face, two hollow sockets burning with flame that looked capable of swallowing anything whole. Sarah and the steward both went weak-kneed, just standing near it. Kai Dren didn't so much as flinch. He turned to Petra. Instead, handle it. Okay, master. She looked up, meeting the massive ghost face with calm, clear eyes, and blew a single gentle breath toward it. Genesis activated. No dramatic effects. No violent burst of power. But the moment that quiet aura of life touched the ghost, face condensed from pure death and resentment. It began to hiss and smoke like acid on hot iron, its form twisting and destabilizing violently. Life divine power. The ancient voice choked out, fear cracking through it for the first time. You're a descendant of the life system. Death and life had always stood opposed. To something built entirely of death, Petra's power was close to pure poison. Still think I'm an ant? Kai Dren asked, a mocking edge in his voice. The ghost face, mostly dissolved now, went quiet, weighing its options. A direct confrontation clearly wasn't worth risking its own core over. You're impressive, mortal, it said finally, tone shifting from wrath to something more careful. What do you want? Treasure? Power? Immortality? Relinquish control of the palace, and I'll grant you all of it. Okay, Drenloget saw the only children have to pick. Just one. I want everything, including whatever's in your treasury. You're choosing your own death, the voice snarled, furious again. That's not really your call anymore. Kai Dren focused his newfound authority and pushed the command out. Open the door. The massive stone door beneath the palace let out an earth-shaking roar. The black chains binding it snapped one by one, and behind it a vast, silent vortex opened, pulling at everything nearby. Mythic rank dungeon, the Styx Divine Kingdom, unlocked. You would actually open the gate of return to ruins. The ghost face said, voice trembling with disbelief. Do you understand the disaster you're inviting onto this entire sea? Disaster? Kai Dren gave a short laugh. To me, this looks like an opportunity. He could feel strands of pure death power leaking out from the open gate, poison to most living things, but a total non-issue for his own crew, all of them buffed. Well past that concern. If anything, the concentrated death energy seemed to be sharpening Petra's life. Power rather than dulling it. Madman, the Lord spat. One final roar of frustration. The seal was already broken. There was nothing left to do but try to tear this arrogant intruder apart on his own turf. Fine. Very well. His tone turned suddenly, coldly formal. Since you insist on invading my kingdom, I'll grant you the chance to earn it. Pass the 3 trials set by my ferryman, and you may take whatever you want. Fail, and your soul becomes the newest gem on my throne. With that, the ghost face collapsed into black smoke and vanished back down into the opening. Trials. Kai Dren rubbed his chin. This lord wasn't a mindless brute, after all. He knew he couldn't touch them out here, so he wanted to draw them onto his own ground and beat them with rules instead of force. Interesting. Rather than fear, real excitement lit his eyes. This was exactly the kind of challenge he liked best. Sarah called Braxcar and his people to the palace. He spoke into the comm, tell him I found a mythic dungeon, and ask if he wants to get rich with us. Yes, Captain. She knew immediately what this was. A way of paying Braxcar back properly for the risk he'd taken earlier. The rewards from a mythic rank dungeon were beyond anything an ordinary crew could hope for a lifetime, and Kai Dren didn't forget debts. 10 minutes later, Braxcar arrived at a run with his core group of fighters and promptly froze at the sight of the massive black vortex churning in the hall. Holy, Brother Kai, did you poke a hole in the sky? He could feel the pull of it in his very soul. Something like that. Kai Dren clapped him on the shoulder. Mythic rank dungeon. The Styx Divine Kingdom. Treasure inside. Danger well past level 9. Want it? Braxcar looked at Kai Dren's steady confidence, then at Sarah and Petra standing behind him, a strategist, and what was functionally a living god, and swallowed hard. Screw it. How many times in a life did a chance like this come around? Let's do it. He stomped a foot and squared his shoulders. Say the word, Brother Kai. Mountain of blades, sea of fire, doesn't matter. Good. Kai Dren nodded, satisfied, and turned to face the vortex. Everyone ready? Ready, came the chorus behind him. He took a breath and stepped into the black unknown. First, without hesitation, Sarah, Petra, Zara, and the twins followed close behind, and Braxcar's crew filed in after them, jaws set. A moment of disorientation later, the scene resolved into something none of them expected, a boundless, pitch-black underground sea. No sky, no sun, no stars. Overhead stretched an endless dome of black rock. Faint green crystals, the only light source. Beneath their feet, black water sat without a single ripple. The silence was total, broken only by the sound of their own heartbeats. Ahead of them, a small, weathered wooden boat sat, waiting on the water. At its bow stood a silent figure in a black cloak, face completely hidden, holding a long, or utterly still. The ancient voice rose in everyone's minds once more. Welcome to the sea of no crossing. First trial boat of a dead. The rule is simple. Take this boat to the far shore. You may not fly, summon your own vessels, or attack the ferryman. I wish you a pleasant journey. The ground beneath their feet began to crumble, sinking inch by inch into the black water, until the only solid footing left was the small boat itself. Get on, Kai Dren said, first a step aboard. It was a tight fit for the whole group, but everyone squeezed in. The silent ferryman finally moved, dipping the oar once into the water, and the boat shot forward into the darkness like an arrow. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then pale, bloated arms broke the surface all around them, grabbing at the gunwale. A second, a third, 100 within seconds, the water around the boat filling with grasping limbs, twisting like seaweed, trying to drag everyone under. One of Braxcar's fighters, too close to the rail, got seized at the ankle and nearly pulled overboard. Don't touch those hands, Kaydren scolded. Weakness insight had already flagged the debuff. Touch of resentment, a continuous drain on life, and mind until the victim became a walking corpse. Braxcar reacted fast, hacking the offending arm free. With a flaming axe swing, Zara followed with a burst of lightning, scorching a cluster of grasping limbs to ash. It didn't help for long. As fast as they cleared one wave, more surged up from deeper water, drawn in by the fighting itself. This isn't working, Sarah said, pale. We'll run out of energy before they run out of arms. Kaydren's yell dictated. Every counterattack seemed to make it worse. This wasn't a fight they could win by force. His gaze landed on the small, trembling figure hiding near the back of the boat. Baolin. He remembered her legendary skill. Charm sound. Song. Charm the enemy. Inspire the ally. A plan started forming. He crossed her side. Baolin. Don't be scared. It's your turn. And me. Baolin shook her head fast, voice already thick with a sob. I can't, Captain. I'm scared. She looked out at the writhing mass of arms surrounding the boat and felt her legs go weak just thinking about opening her mouth. Trust me, you can. Kai Dren crouched down to meet. Her eyes directly, voice steady. You remember how good your voice is. You remember who's singing. Gave everyone the strength to fight the first time we ever faced a real sea monster. You're not someone who hides behind others, Bao. Lin. The words landed somewhere real. That's right, the captain was right. Her voice had power. She wasn't useless. Something in her chest steadied. What should I sing? She asked, small but a little firmer now. Not a charm song. Kai Dren shook his head. Sing them a lullaby. A lullaby? Even Sarah, Braxcar, and the rest exchanged startled looks. Was he serious? This was a battlefield. They're not enemies, Kai Dren said, certain. They're just souls trapped down here, unable to find rest. What they need isn't a fight. It's peace. Nobody argued further, out of trust for him, if nothing else. Bao Lin closed her eyes, forcing the horror around the boat out of her mind, and reached instead for something gentler, a soft, half-remembered melody. The kind a parent might hum to settle a restless child to sleep. No grand notes, no dramatic swell. Just something simple and warm. The moment it left her lips, carried by the power of her skill, something shifted. The arms that had been clawing at the boat slowed. Stopped. They hung in the water instead, quiet almost, listening. The resentment radiating off them began to soften and dissolve. It was working. Everyone watched, stunned, as Kai Dren allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. His bet had paid off. These souls had been trapped down here for longer than anyone could guess, and violence had only ever fed their pain. What they needed was exactly what Bao Lin was giving them. Keep going, he said gently. Let them know they haven't been forgotten. She nodded and kept singing, more invested now, pouring real feeling into every note. She wasn't just performing anymore. She was reaching them. More and more arms went still. Some even began to glow with soft points of light, purified souls, finally released. The boat glided on through the quiet forest of stilled hands, and no one on board dare make a sound, afraid of breaking whatever fragile, sacred thing was happening. By the time Bao Lin finished the last note and opened her eyes, the water around the boat had gone completely calm. Where the arms had been, countless small points of soft white light drifted instead, scattering across the black water like stars. They gathered into a ribbon of light, circled the boat once, as if in thanks, then rose and dissolved against the dark dome above. You have purified the vengeful spirits of the Sea of No. Crossing, completing a hidden condition. Reward: 500,000 merit. Your crew member Bao Lin has developed a new ability during this trial. Charm Sound Song has evolved into Soul's heavenly music. Effect 1. Your singing doubles an effect on soul type creatures, whether charming or purifying. Effect 2. Your singing meaningfully raises the mental energy ceiling of nearby allies, with a small chance to help them intuit mind-related skills of their own. Kydra nodded, pleased with the haul. 500,000 merit was a nice surprise on its own, and Bao Lin's skill had just jumped a whole tier. Ahead, a point of light finally broke the endless dark. An island piled high with massive white bones came into view. They'd reached the far shore. The boat docked. The silent ferryman gestured them off with a small, courteous bow. The moment everyone stepped onto the Bone Island, the ancient voice returned. Congratulations on the first trial. As a reward, you may take one relic from this island. But be warned, every relic here carries the obsession its owner held in life. Choose poorly and you die. The ancient voice, carrying a note of grudging surprise this time, echoed across the field of bones as points of light began to surface across the massive piles of remains. A rustic crown set with dim gems. A broken greatsword etched with runes. A crystal ball with something like a nebula churning inside it. Dozens of glowing objects lay scattered among the giant skeletons, each radiating old, desolate power. We're rich, one of Brack's Scar's fighters shouted, eyeing a magnificently horned helmet. Boss, look at that thing. It's got to be legendary. Called over. Brack Scar himself was eyeing a massive battle axe. Dark bloodstains still on the blade. Don't touch anything, Kai Drin said sharply just as the eager fighter reached for the helmet. Nobody moves yet. He scanned the glowing objects with something closer to suspicion than greed. He didn't believe for a second that an enemy this determined to kill them would suddenly hand out free treasure. Weakness insight confirmed it instantly. Cursed Hegemon's helmet, legendary, damaged. Grant strength and constitution, plus a charge skill. Negative effect, continuously erodes the wearer's sanity until they become a bloodthirsty madman. Obsession, I am the king of this place. The sword was worse, a life-draining curse that would eventually hollow the wielder into a corpse. Obsession, an endless thirst for more life. And the crystal ball was an unstable bomb waiting for a strong enough vibration to detonate with the force of a level 9 main cannon. Every glowing item was the same. Every single one. Poison candy. Brother Kai, what's wrong with him? Brack Scar asked quietly, calming down at Kai Drin's expression. They're all traps. Touch one, and you're probably dead. Kai Drin said it flat. Brack Scar sucked in a sharp breath, a chill running down his spine at how close he'd come a grabbing. That axe. That old ghost doesn't play fair, he muttered. Do you look down on my collection? The Lord's voice cut back in, mocking. Every relic here once belonged to a power that shook a region. Master their obsession, and you gain a supreme weapon. Fall to it. Instead, well, that's simply your own weakness. It wasn't a reward. It was a gamble with a soul as the stake. So what do we do, Captain? Take nothing. Sura asked quietly. Kai Drin rubbed his chin, repeating the rule in his head. Select one relic. His gaze drifted off the glowing items entirely and onto the massive dull bones, forming the island itself. An idea took shape. Who said the relic had to be one of the glowing ones? He walked into the pile of bones, running a hand along. A rib as smooth and heavy as jade, every single one of them larger than a person, worn by time, but clearly indestructible. Closing his eyes, he let his mental senses spread out over the island, searching for the one thing that felt different from the rest. Most of it red, dead, and cold. But right at the edge of his search, he caught something faint, an anomaly, easy to miss. He opened his eyes and locked onto an unremarkable finger bone at his feet, half a meter long, wedged between massive ribs, cracked like it might crumble at a touch. Weakness insight told a different story. A finger bone of the archaic dragon whale, fragment of law, quality, mythic, special, an inconspicuous piece of a powerful ancient creature carrying a trace of a space law. No great power, no terrible curse. It simply waits here, quietly, to be found. Obsession, I want to go home. There was the real reward, hidden in the least tempting place possible, exactly the kind of misdirection built to reward patience over greed. I've made my choice, Kaidrin said, walking over and picking it up. Oh, the Lord's voice carried real curiosity. What did you settle on? That Titan's skull, perhaps? Or the behemoth's leg bone, sturdy enough for a legendary Tom? He was still trying to steer him toward something more impressive looking. Kaidrin simply held up the plain, unremarkable finger bone. This one. Silence answered him. A long pause, then the Lord's voice returned, tinged with genuine confusion. Ew. Why would you choose that? He couldn't understand it. Among every powerful relic on the island, this mortal had picked the most useless-looking stone there. I like it, Kaidrin said simply. He could feel the Lord's frustration ripple through the connection between them. That confirmed it. He'd chosen right. Ungrateful, the Lord snapped, sour. Fiend, take your trash and get out. The bone in Kaidrin's hand lit up with soft light, shrinking rapidly until it settled into a crystal clear Palmsi Sidruna. Obtained. Mythic warship fragment, Styx Ferry. Boat, spatial beacon. One of the key materials for the whole structure, granting a ship the ability to jump between spatial layers. Another piece of the puzzle. Kaidrin pocketed it. Thrilled. The whole island began to shudder, skeletons crumbling away into the abyss below. On the far side, a path paved in light emerged, leading into thick, waiting mist. Go. Kaidrin stepped onto it first, and the rest followed close behind. By the time the last person crossed over, the island had completely vanished into the dark, leaving nothing behind but a long, uneasy silence, a reminder of how close some of them had come to disaster. The path of light dissolved into a narrow, endless, seeming corridor, walls smooth and black as mirrors, lined with ghost green crystals at even intervals. Mist hung thick in the air, cold and damp. Welcome to the second trial, the Heart Demon. Corridor, the Lord's voice said, colder than before. Reach the end of the corridor, and you pass. I wish you a pleasant journey. The voice cut off. Doesn't sound like anywhere good, Brax Scar muttered, gripping his axe. Kaidrin's own expression had gone serious. Weakness insight had failed him completely here. No information at all, which unsettled him more than any monster could have. Stay close. Don't fall behind. He took point, and the group moved in a tight line into the mist. At first, only their own footsteps and breathing broke the silence. Then, as they stepped fully into the thick fog, things started to change. Brax Scar let out a sudden roar of terror, eyes gone. Bloodshot, swinging his axe at empty air. Get back. All of you get back. It's my fault. I'm the one who got you all killed. He seemed to be seeing something none of the rest could. Figures in society colors, riddled with wounds, staring at him accusingly. Hallucinations. Kaidrin understood the shape of the trial in an instant, but his warning came a beat too Late. One by one, the rest of the group began to break. 2. Kiralun's voice cracked with real fear for the first time anyone had heard. In whatever she was seeing, her sister was being dragged into the dark by faceless things while she stood frozen, unable to move. Miralun's version was worse, total abandonment. Alone in an endless dark, curled up and shaking, murmuring to herself. Even Sarah, usually so composed, had gone pale cold. Sweat on her forehead, old memories she'd long buried resurfacing, people who doubted her. Disappointed faces from a life she thought she'd left behind. Zara clutched at nothing, small dragon horns flaring, eyes wide with something between grief and fury, snarling warnings at a threat only she could see. Some deep fear that the bond she shared with her dragon was about to be ripped away from her. Bao Lin had simply collapsed where she stood, sobbing, surrounded by imagined voices calling her useless, a burden, unwanted. The whole team fractured into chaos within seconds. Only 2 people stood apart. Petra's mind was too pure and unguarded for the illusions to find purchase at all. She just tilted her, headed everyone around her, confused. Master, what game is this? Everyone looks like they're hurting. And Kai Dren, the mist hit him too, images of a life he rarely thought about, people disappointed in what he'd become, then his whole crew dying in front of him one after another, each of them blaming him with their last breath. It was aimed straight at the deepest part of him. He let it wash over him for a moment, then snorted. Cheap tricks. His willpower burned through the illusion outright, powered by a constitution and mental strength far past anything ordinary. His own vision cleared instantly. The rest of his crew were still trapped, though each fighting a battle he couldn't fight for them. He moved fast, first to Miralun, pulling her gently, but firmly up off the ground and into a steady hold. I'm here, he said quietly, close to her ear. Look at me. I'm not going anywhere. His voice and the reality of his presence cut slowly through the illusion of abandonment around her. Little by little, her shaking eased. She blinked up at him, dazed. Squad leader. Kai Dren wiped the last of the tears from Miralun's cheeks, his touch gentle. It's all right now. None of that was real. She stared up at him, the warmth of his hand and the solid reality of him slowly outweighing the cold despair the illusion had left behind. Awareness cleared in her eyes, and a beat later, realizing exactly how she was standing, her face went scarlet to the tips of her ears. Thank you, squad leader, she mumbled, ducking her head. Stay behind me. He let go, keeping one hand briefly on her shoulder for steadiness, then turned to Kira. Loon, still lost in her own frenzy. Kira, wake up. He caught her flailing wrists and held them firm. She was strong, but nowhere close to his level, and she couldn't break free. Let go. I have to save my sister. Your sister's right behind me. She's fine. Everything you're seeing is fake. Are you really going to lose to a parlor trick? That landed. Kira Loon's struggling slowed as her eyes found Miralun, safe and worried, standing just where he said. The illusion cracked visibly against that reality warring in her mind. Kai Dren pressed a hand to the back of her neck, sending a clean pulse of calming energy through the contact, and the chaos in her eyes burned out at once. She staggered, drenched in cold sweat. You almost fell for it, he said simply, letting go. He moved through the rest of the group the same way, grounding Brack's scar out of his frenzy, pulling Sarah back from whatever old wound the mist had reopened, until only Bao Lin and Zara were left. Zara's case was dangerous to approach directly, half feral with lightning crackling unpredictably around her. Bao Lin was curled into herself entirely, drowning in imagine contempt. One at a time is too slow, Kai Dren muttered. The mist at the corridor's end was thickening, growing stronger the longer this dragged on. He crouched in front of Bao Lin. Look at me. She lifted her head, trembling. Captain, I'm useless. Nonsense. He cut her off flatly. Who saved this? Whole team back on that boat. That wasn't nothing. That was something only you could do. We need you again, he said, softer now. Sing. Something that gives people courage. Reach Zara. Reach everyone. Pull them out of this. Can I really do that? You can. You're the one voice on this ship that can. Shatter something like this. I believe that. Something in her steadied at the certainty in his voice. She wiped her eyes, took a breath, and reached for something different this time. Not comfort, but strength. Memories of laughing with her crewmates, of Sarah's kindness, of teasing matches with the twins, warmth building in her chest until it had somewhere to go. She opened her mouth, and this time what came out wasn't a lullaby. It was a rising, driving anthem, full of hope and force. Soul's heavenly music activated. Every note cut through the mist like a blade. Every line landed like a war drum against everyone's chest. Zara jolted the second it reached her, a warm, powerful wave sweeping the poison out of her mind, the illusion shattering like glass. Violin, she said, staring at the girl she'd always written off as the weak one, something complicated, crossing her face. She hadn't expected it to be Bao Lin's voice that pulled her free. The song kept building, and everyone's spirit rose with it, right as the thick mist at the corridor's end began to churn violently, as if enraged by the sound. The 10-meter shape of pure black mist coalesced out of the dark, shifting constantly between a fanged beast and a scythe-wielding reaper, radiating the collective fear and despair of everyone who'd just been trapped in it. Heart Demon Aggregate. Level 9, Legendary. It let out a soul-shaking roar, a mental shockwave. Rolling out, though inside the courage Bao Lin's song had spread across the group, the effect landed at less than half strength. Now, Kaidrin Skotet. This thing was the illusion's core. Kill it, and the trial was over. Petra. On it, master. Golden light bloomed outward from her, a domain of pure life filling the dark corridor bright as day. The heart demon shrieked the instant the light touched it, smoke pouring off its body like it had been doused in acid. Life and death, natural enemies, and nothing about that had changed. Zara, Kia, Kaidrin called. Zara surged skyward, shifting fully into her 10-meter dragon form, condensing a massive spear of lightning and fire, judgment in every line of her as she hurled it down at the monster. At the same moment, Kira Loon vanished from where she stood, reappearing behind the creature in total silence, driving her dagger straight into the pulsing black cord at center, caught between the strike from above and the blade from behind. The heart demon didn't even manage a scream before it was completely erased. With its death, the entire corridor began to crumble. The mist cleared, the illusion broke, and a path forward opened up, alongside a pool of clear, glowing spring water. Congratulations on passing the second trial. Reward. Soul Spring. The corridor dissolved entirely, replaced by a wide, circular stone chamber. At its center sat a pool carved from white jade, filled with crystal clear water, a soft, moonlit mist drifting above it, flecked with gold light. Just standing near it, everyone felt some of the mental exhaustion from the corridor start to lift. Is that the Soul Spring? One of Braxgar's fighters asked, eyeing it with open longing. That illusion had left real scars, the kind of pain that lingered in the mind longer than any physical wound. Several of them started forward eagerly. Wait. Braxgar's voice cut through, sharp with tension. Boss, something's off. He shook his head, Talent, screaming a warning he couldn't quite name. The pool looked harmless. It didn't feel that way. The Lord's voice returned, edged with mockery. Sharp instincts. Shame you're too cowardly to use them. This soul spring is my gift. It cleanses the soul, heals what the trial damaged, and permanently raises your mental energy ceiling. A treasure countless undead would kill for. Are you really going to walk away from it over baseless suspicion? permanently raise mental energy. That got everyone's attention. It was the single hardest stat to grow and one of the most valuable. A few faces started to waver. Even Sarah looked tempted. Her own talent scaled directly with mental capacity. Kydrin didn't buy it for a second. He never trusted a free gift, and especially not one from an enemy's own territory. Weakness insight confirmed the catch immediately. Contaminated soul spring, legendary, special. Soaking cleanses soul damage and permanently raises mental energy by 20 to 50 points. Hidden, negative effect. The water carries a trace of the Lord's own will. Alongside the benefit, it plants a seed of adoration deep in a user's soul, over time growing into total, devoted loyalty to the Lord of the Sticks. A leash dressed up as a reward. Well, decided yet? The Lord pressed, impatience creeping into his tone. Petra. Kydrin turned to her instead of answering. What do you make of this water? She leaned over the pool and sniffed at it like a curious puppy, then wrinkled her nose. It's dirty. Smells like rotten bugs. That settled it for anyone still wavering. A mythic rank. Flower goddess's instincts weren't wrong. The Lord let out a burst of laughter. Ridiculous, taking the word of a little girl. Fine, then forget the gift. Entirely. Who said we don't want it? Kydrin cut in. Petra, clean out for me. Okay, master. She reached down and touched the water with a single finger, and gold divine light erupted from the contact. The calm pool boiled instantly, black threads of wool forced up out of the water, writhing and struggling against the wave of pure life pouring into them. Death against life, and it wasn't close. The threads dissolved like ash, hissing into nothing. No, the Lord's voice roared, furious. You dare destroy my will inside my own kingdom. You made it too dirty, Kydrin said, unbothered. It was disgusting. I just had my crew member wash it. Ow. The Lord had no answer for that. His hold over the spring was gone completely, and the water itself transformed in front of everyone, clearer, brighter. The mist above it shifting from pale moonlight to warm gold. Petra has purified the soul spring. Quality upgraded. New effect. Sacred baptism significantly heals mental trauma and permanently raises the mental energy ceiling by 50 to 100 points, plus a new passive, greatly increased resistance to mental control. Not just the curse gone, the benefit itself had grown. Well, enjoy it properly now, Kydrin said, smiling at the group. One by one, everyone settled into the spring to recover, letting the warmth soak the fatigue and lingering fear out of their minds. Braxcar's crew gave the women a respectful distance without needing to be asked. For a while, the stone chamber filled with quiet, relieved sighs and the occasional delighted laugh. Kydrin's own mental energy climbed from 198 to 298 by the time he stepped out, and one by one, everyone reported the same. A real permanent. No strings attached this time. At the far end of the chamber, a massive archway of bone and rock slowly rose into place. The path to the third and final trial had opened. Past the archway lay a coliseum so vast its far walls disappeared into haze, black volcanic stone. Underfoot, old blood grooves worn into the surface. Empty stands ringing the arena, and high above it all, a throne built from massive bones, hanging in open air. Welcome to my Colosseum, the Lord said, all trace of playfulness gone now, replaced with cold, focused hostility. Having been outmaneuvered twice, his patience for games had run out. This is the third trial, the final one. The rule is simple. His voice rolled across the empty arena like a verdict. Survive. You will face my elite legion across 100 waves. In the final wave, my strongest champion enters personally. Defeat him, and you earn full access to my treasury. Fail, a low, cold laugh, and your corpses join my legion. forever. Dozens of massive iron gates around the arena's edge groaned open, red eyes lighting up in the dark behind them. The first wave surged out, thousands of skeleton soldiers, rusted blades and cracked shields, soulfire, burning in empty sockets, charging in a ragged, endless tide. That's a lot of them, Braxgar said, scalp prickling. Formation. Sarah's voice cut through, calm and immediate. Brax, hold the front line. Kira, take the archers in the back rows. Zara, Petra, prepare for wide area clearing. Balin, Mira, support and buffs. Everyone snapped into position without hesitation. All right, brothers. Let's show them what the society's made of. Braxgar roared, leading his fighters straight into the tide rather than waiting for it to arrive. They've been sidelined through the first two trials and were more than ready to finally swing something. Bone shards flew. For low-tier fodder, even a few hundred well-equipped fighters cut through them like grass. But there were simply too many each wave. They cleared replaced twice over from behind. We can't keep pace like this, Sarah said, frowning. Leave it to me. Zara had been waiting for exactly this. She shot skyward, shifting fully into her 10-meter dragon form midair. Feel the dragon's wrath, small fry. A pillar of lightning and fire, 5 meters across, tore down into the densest part of the skeleton tide. The explosion cleared a crater's worth of enemies in a single blow, evaporating them outright. Braxgar's men stared up at her, feeling faintly ridiculous about all the hacking they'd just done. Not finished yet, Petra said, unwilling to be outdone, and with a wave of her hand, her golden domain surged outward. Thick thorn vines tore up through the volcanic rock, tearing through the remaining skeletons or spearing them and lifting them high. In under 5 minutes, the first wave, tens of thousands strong, was completely wiped out. Merrick gained. Kai Dren watched the number scroll past, arms crossed, not having lifted a finger yet. His crew had grown enough to handle this on their own. His job was to save his own strength for whatever waited in wave 100. The waves kept coming, hour after hour. Armored warriors with archer support, skeletal knights on bone, horses, zombies casting curses, lumbering abominations, swarms of gargoyles by the 50th wave, each type tougher and stranger than the last. Petra's domain was the backbone of the whole fight. As long as everyone stayed inside it, they had near infinite stamina and health regeneration, turning the whole team into something that simply didn't tire. Physically, Zara handled wide clearing. Hiralun moved like a ghost, picking off whatever elite threatened to break the line. Serait Sumoned de quoi? Troops soaked hits and bought time in the thick of it. Balin's ongoing song kept mental energy topped off. And buff cycling. Miralun's fortune draws were hit or miss, but the occasional lucky pull gave the whole team a real edge. Kai Dren stayed at the back, stepping in only when a level 8 elite broke through the line, ending each one clean and fast. As long as the captain was there, nobody was really afraid. By the 99th wave, 3 peak level 8 skeletal hydras brought down through sheer coordinated effort. A fragile quiet finally settled over the arena. Everyone was running on fumes. Even with Petra's domain sustaining their bodies, the mental toll of that. Many hours of combat couldn't be erased so easily. Kira Loon slumped against Mira Loon, both drenched in sweat. Zara had reverted to human form, pale and breathing hard. Is that finally it? Sarah asked, leaning against Kai Dren's leg, voice hoarse. He shook his head, gaze fixed on the massive bronze gate at the far end of the arena, the one that hadn't opened once through all 99 waves. No, the main course is just starting. As if in answer, the 100-meter gate let out a deafening groan and began to swing open, and a pressure far heavier than everything they'd fought combined rolled out of the darkness behind it, heavy enough that even Petra's mythic tier domain flickered unsteadily under the weight of it. A figure emerged slowly from the dark, riding a massive, hideous bone dragon, clad head to foot in black armor, a greatsword burning with black flame, held loose in one hand. He wasn't especially tall, but every step he took landed like it was pressing directly on everyone's heart, breath catching in their throats without meaning to. Pure suppression, built entirely from level and life tier. Level 9 at its very peak. Close enough to the next realm that it barely counted as the same tier anymore.